वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9. Today we are starting a new chapter. This is the 21st chapter of this 9th canto. We come to the end of the 9th canto. The last chapter is 24th chapter, describing Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the dynasties that are described. Shukadeva Swami comes to the Yadu dynasty. Yadu was already mentioned in the 9th canto as the son of Yayati. So Yayati appeared in which dynasty? 9th canto is all about the dynasty of Vaivasvata Manu, the 7th Manu. The dynasty of Vaivasvata Manu is being described. And of course, Vaivasvata Manu is in the Surya Vamsha. And Krishna appeared in Chandra Vamsha. So where the Surya Vamsha and Chandra Vamsha are connected, we'll see. That separately you have to study. So this 21st chapter describes the dynasty of Bharata, the famous Bharata, the son of King Dushmanta. As I mentioned, 3 Bharatas are famous. The younger brother of Lord Ramachandra, Bharata. Then 5th canto mentions the son of Rishabhadeva. Rishabhadeva was the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. His eldest son was Bharata, who ruled the entire world. His glories were also described. Now the 3rd Bharata being described here in the 9th canto, 20th chapter describes the dynasty of Puru. Puru was the son of Yayati. So the dynasty of Bharata is being described, and some very exalted personalities appeared in this dynasty, whose glories are sung even among the residents of the upper planets. Ranti Deva. So we'll hear about Ranti Deva and some other great personalities. The chapter summary I'll read, and then we'll discuss the first 2 or 3 verses. Chapter summary. This 21st chapter describes the dynasty born from Maharaj Bharata, the son of Maharaj Dushmanta, and it also describes the glories of Ranti Deva, Ajamedha, and others. The son of Bharadwaja. Who's Bharadwaja? The son of Bharata, adopted son, because Bharata could not conceive any children through his wives. So he was gifted. The Maruts gifted him. The Maruts had raised one child born of um, Brihaspati and Mamata by name Bharadvaja. So that Bharadvaja was handed over by the Maruts to Maharaj Bharata. So that was described in the end of the previous chapter. So now the son of Bharadvaja was Manu, and Manu's sons were Brihatshatra, Jaya, Mahavirya, Nara, and Garga. Of these 5 sons of Manu, Nara had a son named Sankriti. Nara is the 4th son of Manu. So this Nara had a son named Sankriti. Sankriti had 2 sons named Guru and Rantideva. As an exalted devotee, Rantideva saw every living entity in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, he completely engaged his mind, his words, and his very self in the service of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. We learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the lives of great devotees, how to apply the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, we have the example of Arjuna, who applied the teachings of Krishna. But many more examples are there in the Bhagavatam, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Puranas, in the Itihasas, in the Ramayana, in the Mahabharata. Thousands and millions of examples are there. So, Rantideva is a good example of how to apply this description by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita to see every living entity in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna to learn transcendental knowledge, you have to approach a bona fide spiritual master. 34th verse of the 4th chapter. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam. What is that jnana that the bona fide spiritual master will impart to you? That is in the 35th verse. Yad jnatva na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava sarva bhutani asheshani drakshasi atmani ato mani. That knowledge, transcendental knowledge, is to see every living entity in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that verse 4.35 of the Bhagavad Gita, the application of that verse in our life is taught by the example of Rantideva. So what is mentioned here? As an exalted devotee, Rantideva saw every living entity in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, what did he do? He completely engaged his mind, his words, and his very self in the service of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Kaya, Vacha, Manasa. He engaged in service of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Because the Supreme Lord is never alone. He is always with his devotees. And devotees are never without the Supreme Lord. So to engage in the service of the Lord means to engage in the service of the Lord and his devotees. Rantideva was so exalted that he would sometimes give away his own food in charity, and he and his family would fast. We see when we are, especially when we are traveling, that people buy some food, and among them those who are little compassionate and generous towards the others who are deprived of food. Sometimes I've seen they will buy, instead of buying one packet of food, they'll buy 2 packets, though they require only 1 packet. And the other packet they will give to somebody else who is deprived of food. Or they are carrying some food, so they are carrying not exactly the quantity they require, they're carrying a little more. So from what they are carrying, they'll keep aside something for themselves, and balance they'll give to somebody else who may be deprived. So this is a very good quality in generous human beings. But Rantideva is so exalted that he would give his very share, and he himself would fast. So Rantideva is more exalted than generous persons we might have seen in our common experience. Or we might have also done that. But we will always keep something for us first and then give them. Whereas Rantideva was not like that. He and his family would fast after giving away whatever he had in charity. Once, after Rantideva spent 48 days, this is not just the glory of Rantideva, that he gave away something which he would have eaten is certainly very exalted quality of Rantideva, but even more exalted quality you can now hear. Once, after Rantideva spent 48 days fasting, not even drinking water, Nirjala. We find it difficult to do Nirjala even one day, Ekadashi. But he did Nirjala for 48 days. Excellent food made with ghee was brought to him. But when he was about to eat it, a Brahmana guest appeared. Rantideva therefore did not eat the food, but instead immediately offered a portion of it to the Brahmana. When the Brahmana left, Rantideva was just about to eat the remnants of the food. A Shudra appeared. Rantideva therefore divided the remnants between the Shudra and himself. His share he had kept. It was left over. He had not kept it. I'm sorry. He had not kept it. What was left over? That he divided. Let me divide between myself and this Shudra who has come. Rantideva therefore divided the remnants between the Shudra and himself. Again, when he was about to eat the remnants of the food, another guest appeared. Rantideva therefore gave the rest of the food to the new guest. Not much was left, enough for one person. So that he gave away to the new guest. And he was about to content himself with drinking the water to quench his thirst. He said, I will satisfy myself with just drinking water, but this is not being even drinking water. So even that water will be a relief for him. 48 days Nirjala. But this also was precluded, for a thirsty guest came and Rantideva gave him the water. The water he had, he gave away because somebody came and said, I'm very thirsty. The details we will hear in the verses. I'm just reading the summary of the chapter. This was all ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead just to glorify his devotee and show how tolerant a devotee is in rendering service to the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being extremely pleased with Rantideva, entrusted him with very confidential service. The special power to render the most confidential service is entrusted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to a pure devotee, not to ordinary devotees. Again, these things we will discuss in detail in the verses. Garga, the son of Bharadvaja, had a son named Shini, and Shini's son was Gargya. So Bharadvaja had more than one son. Previously we read Bharadvaja had a son named Manu. Now here another son of Bharadvaja was Garga. Garga's son was Shini. Shini's son was Gargya. Gargya was a Kshatriya by birth, but his sons became Brahmanas. The son of Mahavirya was Duritakshaya, whose sons were Trayaruni, Kavi, and Pushkararuni. Although these three sons were born of a Kshatriya king, they achieved the position of Brahmanas. The son of Bruhat Kshatriya constructed the city of Hastinapura and was known as Hasti. His sons were Ajamedha, Dvimedha, and Purumedha. From Ajamedha came Priyamedha and other Brahmanas, and also a son named Brihadishu. The sons, grandsons, and further descendants of Brihadishu were, a long list is given, Brihadhanu, Brihadkaya, Jayadratha, Vishada, and Syenajit. From Syenajit came four sons, Ruchirashva, Dridahanu, Kashya, and Vatsa. From Ruchirashva came a son named Para, whose sons were Pruthusena and Nipa. And from Nipa came 100 sons. Another son of Nipa was Brahmadatta. From Brahmadatta came Vishwaksena. From Vishwaksena, Udaksena. And from Udaksena, Bhallata. The son of Vimedha was Yavinara, and from Yavinara came many sons and grandsons, such as Kritiman, Satyadriti, Dhridanemi, Suparshva, Sumati, Sannatiman, Kriti, Nipa, Udgrayudha, Shemya, Suvira, Ripunjaya, and Bahuratha. Purameda had no sons, but Ajameda, in addition to his other sons, had a son named Nila, whose son was Shanti. The descendants of Shanti were Sushanti, Puruja, Arka, and Bharmyashva. Bharmyashva had 5 sons, one of whom, Mudgala, begot a dynasty of Brahmanas. Mudgala had twins, a son, Divodasa, and a daughter, Ahalya. From Ahalya, by her husband Gautama, Shatananda was born. The son of Shatananda was Satyadruti, and his son was Sharadvan. Sharadvan's son was known as Kripa, and Sharadvan's daughter was known as Kripi, became the wife of Dronacharya. Chardvan's daughter, known as Kripi, became the wife of Dronacharya. So this is about the description of the dynasty of Bharata in brief. Text 1. Kindly repeat after me. Sri Shuka Vacha Vitathasya Sutan Manyor Vitathasya Sutan Manyor Brihat Kshatro Jayastataha Brihat Kshatro Jayastataha Mahaviryo Naro Gargaha Sankritistu Naratmajaha Sankritistu Naratmajaha Sri Shuka Vacha Vitatasya Sutan Manyor Bharat Kshatro Jayastataha Mahaviryo Naro Gargaha Sankritistu Naratmajaha Sri Shuka Vacha Vitatasya Sutan Manyor Bharat Jayastataha Mahaviryo Naro Gargaha Sankritistu Naratmajaha Sri Shuka Vacha Vitatasya Sutan Manyor Jayastataha Mahaviryo Naro Gargaha Sankritistu Naratmajaha Sri Shuka Vacha Vitatasya Sutan Manyor Jayastataha Mahaviryo Naro Gargaha Sankritistu Naratmajaha Sri Shuka Vacha Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Vitathasya of Vitatha, that is another name for Bharadwaja, was accepted in the family of Maharaj Bharata under special circumstances of disappointment. See how Prabhupada, in giving word for meaning, is explaining so nicely. You see, so many details he is giving in the word for meaning. Because suddenly this name Vitatha is appearing, which is not there in the previous chapter. It is not mentioned. So who is this Vitatha? Another name for Bharadwaja, who was described in the last verse of the previous chapter. Sutat, from the sun. Manyo, named Manyu. Brihat Kshatraha, Brihat Kshatra. Jayaha, Jaya. Tataha, from him. Mahaviryaha, Mahavirya. Naraha, Nara. Gargaha, Garga. Sankritihi, Sankriti. To, certainly. Nara Atmajaha, the son of Nara. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shukadev Goswami said, because Bharadwaja was delivered by the Marut demigods, he was known as Vitatha. Every name has got a specific meaning. The son of Vitatha was Manyu, and from Manyu came 5 sons, Brihat, Kshatra, Jaya, Mahavirya, Nara and Garga. Of these 5, the one known as Nara had a son named Sankriti. Please repeat this translation after me. Shukadev Goswami said, because Bharadwaja was delivered by the Marut demigods. He was known as Vitatha. The son of Vitatha was Manu, and from Manu came 5 sons: Brihatkshatra, Jaya, Mahavirya, Nara, and Garga. Of these 5, one known as Nara had a son named Sankriti. I'll read text 2 and 3, 4, 5 by myself. Guruscha Rantidevascha Sankrite Pandunandana. Pandunandana is addressing Parikshit Maharaj. Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. Rantidevasya Mahima Ihamutra cha Giyate. Translation: O Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of Pandu, Pandunandana, Sankriti had 2 sons named Guru and Rantideva. Rantideva is famous in both this world and the next, for he is glorified not only in human society but also in the society of the demigods. Text 3, 4 and 5. Vyad vittasya dadato labdham labdham bubukshataha nishkinchanasya dhirasya sakutumbasya sidataha vyatiyur ashta chatvarimshat ahani apibat ahani apibataha kila ghrutapayasa samyavam toyam pratar upasthitam kritra prapta kutumbasya kshutribhyam jatavepathoho atithir brahmana kale bhoktukamasya chagamat. All the 3 verses are given together. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Rantideva never endeavored to earn anything. He would enjoy whatever he got by the arrangement of providence. But when guests came, he would give them everything. Thus he underwent considerable suffering along with the members of his family. Indeed, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water. Yet, Rantideva always remained sober. Once, after fasting for 48 days, in the morning, Rantideva received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But when he and his family were about to eat, a Brahmana guest arrived. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the description is given of the descendants of Bharat Maharaj. Among them, the most famous and the most exalted descendant is Rantideva. Rantideva is famous in both this world and the next. Why? Why is it said like this? Because he is glorified not only in human society, but also in the society of the demigods. The demigods are beings living in the upper planet, Swargaloka. Swargaloka is the beginning of the upper planetary system. When we say the universe is divided into upper, middle, and lower, There are different kinds of divisions, of course, in different places in the scriptures. This division, upper, middle, and lower, one division is Swarga and above. Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. These planetary systems are called upper planetary systems. Urdhvaloka. Then Madhyaloka is the earthly planets, and just above the earthly planets is the Bhuvarloka. Pitruloka is in the Bhuvarloka. Then below the earth, all are called lower planetary system. Below the earth. Another division of upper, middle, and lower is Maharloka onwards is upper planetary system. The earth, earthly planetary system, Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, and Swargaloka or Swarloka. All the three planetary systems are classified in the middle planetary system. And below the earth, the lower planetary systems. Now, what is the basis of this classification? That the Devatas, they control and rule over the inhabitants of the planetary systems, beginning with the Swargaloka itself. They don't have jurisdiction, the residents of the Swargaloka, who are controllers of all these planetary systems, Swarga and below. They don't have jurisdiction over Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. All those inhabitants are directly controlled by the topmost three Devatas. Who are the topmost three Devatas? Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva directly control the inhabitants of Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. Why is it so? Because these inhabitants, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka, they are not at all interested in material enjoyment in terms of what is available in different planetary systems in this material world. Their only business is the actual business of all human beings, self-realization. So these residents are exclusively engaged in self-realization, nothing else. So when it describes in the Bhagavatam, Hiranyakashipu conquered all the three worlds, he terrorized the whole universe, it means that he was controlling Swargaloka and below. So nobody has authority or jurisdiction to rule or to control Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka other than Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Nobody else has jurisdiction. So Rantideva is famous not only in human society but also in the society of demigods. These demigods are described as those with exceptionally situated in the mode of goodness, a much greater proportion in the mode of goodness than the residents of the other planets. There are human beings all over the universe. Human species is spread all over the universe, in all the planetary systems. But those with lesser proportion of goodness are in the lower planets. those with moderate proportion of goodness are in the earthly planetary system, and those with proportionately more quality of goodness are in the upper planetary system. And the highest amount of goodness is to be found in Lord Brahma, who is the topmost living being, and he lives in Brahmaloka. And proportionately more goodness is there in the residents of Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka also. So this is the division of the humans in the different planetary systems. So the demigods, they have very nice qualities as compared to human beings. And the residents of planets higher than the Devatas, they are all very exalted brahmacharis, Naishtika brahmacharis, very exalted sannyasis, strict vows, those who have taken strict vows. That's why they're only engaged in self-realization, because they have taken strict vows and they follow those vows. Very rigidly they follow. But the devotees of the Supreme Lord are more exalted than these personalities, because the devotees, even if they may appear in human society or even in the society of animals or birds, they rigidly follow the principles of pure devotional service. Like Haridas Thakur, he appeared in a Yavana family, a Muslim family, but he was very rigidly following the principle of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And not just that he was chanting rigidly, but he would not take any food or any water even before he finished his quota of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Very, very rigidly he would chant like that. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that he is the Acharya of chanting the holy name, the ideal. The ideal. So our chanting, we should try to improve the quality. Of course, we are all striving to do that. So the standard we are supposed to attain, the perfection of our practice, is when we engage in chanting rigidly, and till our chanting is over, we don't even take any food or drink. No water even. That's why Haridas Thakur is called Namacharya. So he is the ideal Acharya of chanting the holy name. So anyway, Rantideva, he was not only glorified in human society, but he was also glorified in the society of the demigods, because he is a very, very exalted devotee. Very exalted devotee. And the qualities of devotees described in the Bhagavad Gita, you can see in the character of Rantideva. Rantideva never endeavored to earn anything. He would enjoy whatever he got by arrangement of providence. This Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita. Yadruchalabha santushto. This is a quality of a devotee, pure devotee. What is that? Satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord. Never endeavor for earning money. But the opposite thing he would do when some guests came He would give them of whatever he had. Nishkinchanasya, dhirasya. These are qualities of pure devotees. Nishkinchana, dhira. Krishna describes who is eligible for attaining immortality. In the second chapter, he says, Sama Sukha Yamhina Vyathayantyete Purusham Purusharshabha Sama Dukkha Sukham Dhiram Somrtatvaya Kalpate. Dhira means a devotee. So devotee is very, very sober. Dhira, the most sober. Dhirastatra namuhyati, 13th verse. Who is not bewildered by the change of body at death? A devotee. So Rantideva was such an exalted devotee. He was a dhira, most sober. And that sober behavior is tested when he was fasting for 48 days without food and water, and guests arrived. He gave away everything, including water, and remained sober. He did not get agitated, he did not get disturbed, he did not lose his sobriety. So that is pure devotee. That is pure devotee. Then the description, of course, in detail is given about his fasting for 48 days without food and water. And then what happened? We'll hear in the later verses. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.